Hey, so I've been working on my game Super Soul Standard for a while now, and now that I'm getting a lot closer to releasing my demo, I'm starting to work on some more cutscene type stuff. I've had a cutscene builder for a while, but I've been improving it a bit so that I can make more rapid iterations and prototype a bunch of different types of cutscenes so that I can give a little bit more context for a map when you play it, and also add a little bit of flavor and character to my maps. So here I'm going to show off what I've changed so far and what I'm doing, and show you an example of how the cutscene editor works and also what the end result looks like. So first, I'll show off this map because this is a good example of a map that needs to communicate to the players some mechanics for a given map. So on this map, this is a defense map where you need to hold each one of these blue control points here, like this one and this one, this one, this one, from any of the enemy units from standing on them and capturing them. You have to stop that from happening. And you're surrounded on all sides from 3 different armies that are trying to capture this city. And so I want to communicate like the peril that your army is under while fighting against these foes, and also giving you some tips on how to play the map effectively to prevent as many of them from threatening you as possible. So around the map we have sandbags, and we also have some of these switches here. These switches are linked to these drawbridges, and there's another one over here where this switch affects these drawbridges. You could look at every tile of the map to figure out what's related to what, but I figured I'd draw your attention to those things, especially if you're a newer player, so that you can have some sort of idea of what you should be trying to do on this map if you don't want to get overwhelmed. So I already have a cutscene written here, so I'll copy this code, and I will go to my cutscene editor that I've been working on, and that is over... Where is it? Okay, here it is. So, in the cutscene builder here, there's 2 different main sections of the app. The left side is the events editor, and the right side is the event creator, kind of. So, if you scroll up and down here, you can see there's a bunch of different types of events here. We have a dialogue for a unit, which you can open up, and this has a lot of stuff going on. I won't explain all of it, but there's one for moving a cursor. I can set the X and Y coordinates for the in-game cursor to move to a particular position, and I can also adjust the zoom. There's triggers, which are like event IDs that I can fire for, like, for example, in here there's a drawbridge that can be turned on and off. And there's a bunch of other types of stuff as well. I can script a unit to move for a particular cutscene to, like, show them, like, wandering around a map, or like walking up to another person to talk to them, that kind of thing. So here's an example of what the output, I use JSON, and I have a parser in my code that parses all of this code that takes the type of the cutscene event that is going to occur, and then each of the properties of that event. So a very common one for me is that I want to make units talk and show their face and their name on the screen. So in order to do that, I have what's called a unit query property here. For the dialogue unit event, we have this unit query. I can expand this because this takes up a lot of space, and I can choose some sort of like query criteria so that it will pick a unit on the map dynamically based on the criteria that I set here. So for example, if I set commander for army, there's a bunch of options here, so I can pick player, or if I already know the specific army that I want that particular commander unit to be from, I can select like the specific army here. I can also choose if there's a named character on the map, I can put in their name instead, or the role they have, or I can check if somebody's inside a particular region of the map, or I can go to a unit at a specific set of coordinates if I know exactly where they're going to be. After that, I can choose whether I want the dialogue to appear in the middle of the screen, whether I want to move the camera to the speaker as they're talking so that they'll like move over to their unit like in map space and then show their face. I have a bunch of format tags here. I have a custom text parser that will take each of these different tags. You can see some examples here where it will convert anything after a particular tag to whatever the parser will pull from that. So for example here, anything after the blue tag will be rendered in blue, and then anything after that will go back to normal, which is like white text, basically. So there are some that don't just change the color of the text, but also can change can show like images and icons in line with the text, and I'll show an example of that. I can import events that I've already written for this map. So you can see here I have a whole bunch of different events here. Some new features that I've added to this cutscene editor are things like drag and drop to change the order of particular events in a cutscene. I can also press this edit button, which will like open this, flash it, and then populate it with the dialogue for that particular event. There's kind of a bug at the moment for loading the unit query that I have to fix, but yeah, here I can go in and I can load this, and then I can replace the text, and then I can update the event that I've written here in line with the index that it was provided when I clicked this. So if I go over to number 4, for example, and I press edit, it'll update this index with number 4. So if I want to change the dialogue in here, I can just press update event and it will update it in line here. The old way that I had to do it was to add an event. It would appear at the bottom, and then I'd have to drag it back up, and then I'd have to delete the other one that was identical to it, and that was pretty bad. After I've created all these events, I usually write these out separately in a more easy to read format, and then I will import them in through the editor. But if I need to make tweaks after watching what it looks like in the game, I can make really fast edits here thanks to these like edit buttons and stuff. Once I've done all that, I can press copy to clipboard, and then I can go over here and I can paste them all into my cutscene event, which is just a property entiled for this sequence. And then this is actually triggered by this start trigger that applies at the start of the first round of the game, and it's called start. After I save that and then I go into the game, I can load that map, and then you'll see the cutscene. So let's show that off. So here, I'm just going to draft a random army to get right to the cutscenes. So Holly's my commander for this map, so whenever the cutscene tells me to have the Lunar Army Commander speak, it'll go to Holly here, since she's the commander for this drafted army. So when I see the stuff in here where it says Luna Commander, it says we're surrounded, and I go into the game, you'll see that's what lines up here, and all of this will go to the Blood Orc unit, so it hovers over him and plays out his text. And each of the different characters have a different tone for their voice, so some will have like a much higher pitch on their dialogue, like as each character is shown, like this. He has like a much deeper voice, and then other characters will have like higher pitch voices, like so. Here you can see some of the color coding effects in the tags, changing the text color to look more red. You can also highlight and show, for example, like I mentioned before, the lever that can be used to activate the drawbridge can be highlighted with the cursor, which is an event in here. This is a move cursor event. And then it's followed by another dialogue event where it does not re-snap the dialogue back to the speaker, so that they can I can show their voice and their name and everything without actually going back over them, while you can see the contextual information that you need to know. Here we zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the map in this context. And you can see more of the text highlighting here. There's some logic for how the text highlighting is usually used. Entities and stuff are blue. Important positive information is in green. Important like general information is in red. And then anything referring to a particular army just like matches the color of that particular army. Afterwards, the normal cutscenes will play that play on any map, which just describes each of the objectives for the particular map. And after that, it goes into the game. And that's it. Thanks for checking it out.